Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Reynolds Outdoors. Today's gonna be a fun video for the both of us. We were discussing on, hey, what do we need to do next? What have we not done in a while? And AR video. We hadn't done an AR video in a very long time, and I think the last one I did was probably the essential AR accessory video, which did really well. So I figured, hey, Parker, let's both bring in. We agreed to bring in one of our builds, and they're two very different, I'd say. I mean, not totally different, but yeah, they're different. I mean, they're different setups. And so the basis of this video is we want to go from end to end on our rifles and carefully explain why we put, what accessory where, and kind of give you the why. I think a lot of times the why is left out of explanation on AR builds. A lot of times, people are like, well, you need this and this here. It's like, well, why do I need it here? Why not put it right here, or have the sling at, why would I have my sling mounted close together, far away? Why single point? Why 2-point? We're going to try to get into all that and kind of give different perspectives. But guys, whatever we say here today is not necessarily the end-all be-all. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's very, you want to set your rifle up to how it makes sense to you. I touched on this in the Essential AR video. It needs to make sense and work well for you and whatever the application for the rifle is. All these are very important questions. So I'm going to start it off with this build here. This is an Aero Precision upper and lower. I did assemble this gun myself. And I guess we'll start from the tip and work our way back. Does that sound good to you, Parker?
Yeah.
All right. So up here at the end on my muzzle device, this is from Silencer Co. This is an ASR muzzle device because I do run a Silencer Co. Omega. I have one of these on each one of my rifles, so I can quickly detach my suppressor. Of course, not after shooting it, because this will be a little bit hot, but I can move it around on different rifles if I want to shoot it on my rifle. So that's a good feature. And there's lots of great muzzle devices out there if you wanting to run a suppressor. You Surefire, and there's tons of options.
It gets better every year.
Yeah, it gets better every year. So I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on talking about muzzle devices. It's kind of boring. But moving on back, you see I have a light here mounted up on my rail. This is the Stream Light. There are better options out there. I mess around with Surefire on some of my other guns, but these are great for the money. Very good lights. Sell a ton of them. Lots of guys in law enforcement use them. They work well, and I do have the pressure pad mounted up here on the side. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time up front because I got a lot kind of going on up here, and I've got my front sight.
Who makes those backups?
Troy. The Troy sights. Like them. They're metal. They work. The battery never dies on those. So, so yeah, I've got the Magpul foregrip. So why do I have this set up the way I do? I like my foregrip up way out front because I like to stretch out and get that real cool looking, thumb over board grip. Now let's talk about why we do that. Not just because it looks cool. There's a purpose to it. So the more stuff you have out on the end of your rifle, the heavier it's going to get.
Yeah.
So if a lot of, years ago, people even would, this was even taught to shoot back here. And if you've got stuff out here on the end of your gun, well, it's going to get kind of heavy. So I like my foregrip to run out front, or I like to do that stretched out, thumb over bore. That way it makes the gun feel lighter, and you can transition between targets a lot faster.
It also keeps your thumb a lot of more mass over the bore, so it keeps the muzzle down.
Right.
So you start getting higher strings of fire, quicker cadences. It's nice to have some little more control on top to keep everything where it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, very true. And so when I put my pressure pad over here, a lot of times I'll run them on top, but it was kind of in the way of my flip up sight right there. I didn't want to mount it too far back. So this is a Aero Precision rail as well, and it has plenty of M-LOK, lots of real estate. So I'll put it here on the side. You can see that. So when I have my hand up on the gun right here, my controls are very easy to get to. I don't have to go looking for the pressure pad or anything like that. It's all intuitive, and it makes a lot of sense for me when I shoot. So, and let's talk about the grip on there, the Magpul forward grip. You see a lot of guys still doing this and holding. They think, when you ask what you think, okay, I hold on to that. That feels good. So I have a lot of control of the rifle. Well, no, I don't run mine like that. I basically just use that to push the gun into my shoulder more so, and I keep my thumb up top. That way I can still work my controls. So, yep, we're not open yet. Phone never stops around here. But so yeah, and also on my light, I kind of skipped over this. This is a Magpul low profile mount. It goes right into the M-LOK right there. Really like that. It keeps that light nice and tucked in. It's not going to be sticking out really far. And I thought, some people think, what is that? I mean, they don't stick out too far to begin with. Why do you have that? Well, I mean, you go up to a barrier or going into a house, or that you want everything as tight to the rifle as possible. You don't want any snag points. That's no good. You don't want to be slamming your light into door frames or anything like that when you're moving fast. So, and also I got my wires zip tied there, so they're not flopping around and less likely to get caught or something. I know in my last video I hurt some people's feelings. Some FUDs were angry that I had electrical tape on my gun.
I'll wait till they see mine.
Oh, but big oof. But yeah, so but yeah, don't be afraid to put electrical tape, to tape wires down. It does. I mean, as long as you're keeping things, if it makes sense and there's a reason for it, keeping everything tight to the gun, not having snag points, not having loose ends around on your rifle, it's okay. You're not hurting it. No one. It's not hurting anyone. You're not.
Just a tool.
You're not causing illnesses or diseases. So yeah, moving from there. Did anything you think I might have missed out on there, Parker?
Nothing too big. One thing, if you are running a suppressor and you have your light farther back, you can run as a suppressor shadow. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a half moon taking out of your light. That's one thing to consider.
Right.
But for most people, it's typically not going to be an issue. You're still getting most of your flood from the light.
Yeah, on my other, the rifle I showcased in the last video, my SIG, it's got that old school quad rail, and it has terrible shadow. I mean, it's not, you can still use your light, but it is noticeable. So yeah, you want to run that light as far out close to the muzzle as possible. It will eliminate that shadow effect, but that is a good point. Thank you, Parker. So, all right, moving on back. I think I pretty much covered all that. I'm trying not to keep this video, from going 30 minutes long, but it may go a little bit longer today. We're going to get back, I guess, to the sling. So, slings, that is yeah, we're gonna spend some time on that. So a lot of times I get people, buying ARs for the first time. They don't really think, they think, well, a sling is a sling, right? A rifle sling, it doesn't matter. Or they think, oh, well, single point, that's the coolest looking sling out there. It gives me the best of both worlds of shooting, strong or weak side. And yeah, that is kind of true. But you can achieve all of that and then some with a good 2-point sling, and it does matter, where you mount the sling up. Now you can still mount as far north and south of each other as possible, but I kind of like to mount mine a little bit closer together. I mean, I've even had some where I've mounted behind the receiver right here and up front as close to the receiver on the rail, and people are like, man, that looks crazy. Why do you run it like that? Well, I'll demonstrate. So with a 2-point, and this is a Blue Force sling. This is kind of a crusty one. It's been around the block. I've had it a little bit, so it does have some sentimental value. But I can quickly loosen or tighten the sling with just pulling this little green tab right here. Very, very nice. So if I'm going around a barrier, I need to switch position. I can just simply drop my shoulder out. And that way I just have the sling kind of around my neck. I would have it a little bit tighter than this, and I could easily go to my weak side and then quickly, just throw my arm back through it and go about business as usual after I've, eliminated that target or whatever, shot that steel or paper, while LARPing on the range. So yeah, and also benefits with a 2-point. I can have it tight to my body. Now I kind of got this a little looser than normal because I normally wear this with a vest. or plate carrier. So it is a little more loose, but if with my vest on and I tighten it all the way down, the gun's tight to my body. If I need to go hands-on or get my buddy, drag my friend to safety or whatever, I'm not going to be banging the gun around on his head too much. I can throw it around behind me and, you know, drag somebody out, pick up a bag of concrete, whatever you're doing. You know, it's going to be with a single point, the gun's just kind of flopping. It's going all over the place. And if you got a 3-point sling, you're wrong.
It's not the 90s and you're not shooting an MP5.
No.
You don't need a 3-point sling.
That's not a good, I'm not going to go into all the reasons why I hate that sling, but it's awful. Take my word for it. I'm going to just, yeah. 2-point is our favorite. Single point, if you got to just have it.
There's very few exceptions where a single point would make sense. If you have something like, you have like a B&T, they're real compact, like a TP9 or an APC9K, and it's something that you're doing something a little more weird with. A single point sling's nice because the gun weighs 3 or 4 pounds and it's that big. So a single point sling makes sense for that gun. They actually come with them. But if you're shooting a full size rifle or even a sub gun, you really need a 2-point sling.
Yeah, 2-point is, I mean, I hate 3 points for a reason. I had to use them for a little bit, and once I got the Blue Force, a very nice gentleman at an armory said, "Here, try this. Take this Blue Force sling. It's going to change your life," and it did. I love the 2-point sling, especially now there's other great brands out there. Blue Force isn't the only one. What's some other good?
T-Rex Arms makes ones now. It's good. I have an Edgar Sherman design on my shorter rifle. It's probably one of my favorites. Super slick action as far as adjusting it. And then we can get to what I have on this rifle here in a second.
Yep. Magpul makes some good ones. I mean, you don't have to spend a ton of money. Probably Magpul's is the least I would recommend spending on a sling. It's worth, spending $60-$70 to get a good sling. But I think I've pretty much covered. Oh, and I've got the QD point up here, so I mean, you can quickly remove that. If I don't have it, I got it actually threaded back here just through the back of my Magpul stock. We've pretty much covered everything I think we need to talk about on slings. So moving on back, we're going to talk about optics. So this is the Trijicon MRO. Something that's, I wanted a really good optic. This is a rifle that I keep with me at all times at my job. So I wanted something that I know is going to work and it's going to last literally for years, the battery life that is. So Trijicon, as well as many other reputable optics on the market nowadays, are achieving 5 years at least, battery life. So I highly recommend, if you're going to go into an electrical optic or any kind of powered optic, to spend a little bit of extra money. You can get good ones for $200, but if it's something that you're going to use for duty use, I suggest saving your pennies and actually shopping around and getting you something preferably American made and with a good pedigree of a good track record in the military and law enforcement. So not gonna spend too much time on optics. And I did touch on I do have backup sights. Very important, I think, to carry good backup irons. So again, you don't have to spend a ton of money. Magpul makes good ones. The Imba sights, you can get them for $50-$60 for a set.
Yeah.
So you can go up to the pros and spend over $200 if you want. You can spend a lot of money or a little, but I would not recommend spending too little on your optics. Charging handle, Strike Industry extended charging handle. I mean, a lot of people like ambidextrous, but I mean, I typically am using my left hand to grab the charging handle, so I opted for the extension on the left side, not the complete ambi. So it works for me. I like it. I got the bad lever right here, and I think Parker does as well. So let's the bad lever, real quick. I can lock the bolt back by just pulling on the charging handle and pushing up on that little button right there, and it locks the bolt back. And also when I reinsert a fresh mag, I don't have to come up and hit the side of the bolt release. I can just use trigger finger and it sends the bolt home, locks it back into battery assisting device.
Yep.
Is what bad lever stands for. So Parker runs it, I run it. It's a very easy to install piece of gear. I highly recommend doing that. It will save seconds, and seconds can save lives.
Yep.
So moving on back, the stock, nothing fancy. I just got the little Magpul I probably will upgrade. In fact, I am to the BCM Gunfighter. I really like that stock, but I was throwing this gun together, and we had one on the shelf, so I was like, yeah, I'll throw that on there for now and upgrade later. But it's 6 position stock. As long as it's 6 position, you know, it's. I mean, you don't have to spend a ton of money on one. I mean, if you want to rock the old school standard issue GI 6 position stock, works just fine. If you want to take that wobble out, have a little bit more surface area for your cheek, I really like the Gunfighter stocks that Parker has here. I'll let him talk about that. And that's pretty much my build there. Pretty simple. It's not a super expensive build. It's an Aero Precision upper and lower with rail. I mean, it's and the barrel. All of it came from Aero Precision. So I mean, you can. Well, back then it was probably around $1,000, I'd say, to build this without all the accessories and extras on it. Maybe around $1,000 to $1,200. So I highly recommend you getting out there and assembling your own AR. It gives you a better understanding of your gun, and if something goes wrong, you know, you can identify the problem, take it apart, fix it. It's just going to make, you know, your better understanding of the weapon and make you a better shooter and gun owner all around. So, all right, Parker, let's talk about this. Yes.
All right. So mine's a little different looking. Yes, it has been spray painted. That's a different rabbit hole you can go down. It breaks up the outline of the rifle at a distance. If that's important to you, I recommend it. If it's not, don't worry about it. Starting tip to butt, I got an A2 birdcage. I'm a big proponent of flash hiders. Unless you're shooting 3-gun or something like that, you really need to have a flash hider on your rifle. If you've ever shot one in a closed or confined space with a muzzle brake, you won't do it again. And then reducing your flash signature is always good. Moving back, I have a Surefire Scout. This is a 640 Pro. It's on there, built-in low pro M-LOK mount. It's the lowest mount I've ever seen. I've used Arisaka before, and those were kind of the standard prior to this coming out. Now, unlike Seth's, I don't have a pressure pad. I have a clicky tail cap from Surefire. I think it's for what I want to use, for what the rifle's meant for me. I don't want you can easily ND the light with a pressure pad. It's a lot harder to do that. It's shrouded, so you're not going to accidentally bump your light.
Right.
As far as barrel goes, it's a ballistic advantage, Hansen profile. So it's heavier at the back, lighter at the front, mid-length gas. If you're shooting a 16-inch gun, mid-length gas is the way to go. A little bit softer shooting. Seth actually put the upper together for me. Moving up, I got a Geisley Mark 13 rail. It's very light, but it's very strong. It has M-LOK on the sides and bottom, so you can put whatever you want on there, and then just straight Picatinny on the top. Been very pleased with this rail. I've dropped it. I fell over on the rifle plenty of times, and it has held up very well. Moving down, I do have the BCM vertical grip. I'll probably be getting rid of this soon. It's not a huge deal for me because I have the clicky tail cap, and I like the ability to put my hand different places. Moving back, as far as optics go, I have a Vortex Viper PST Gen 2 1:6. It's in a Geisley Super Precision 193 height mount. And then I have a Reptilia ROF 90 RMR piggyback mount on top. I don't have anything mounted up there right now. That's kind of in the works. 193 height is nice if you're doing a lot of stand-up shooting or if you have a big head so you can get behind it. Some people have issues getting a consistent placement with the optic, so it's kind of try it out and see if you like it. I personally haven't had any issues with it. It's super nice, it's fast. Advantage of going to a 1:6 is pretty standard. 1 power on the bottom end. It's not true 1X, so it's not as fast as a red dot, but you do have the option. You can crank it all the way up to 6. You can identify what you're looking at. And for something like this, which I can take hog hunting, predator hunting, it's set up. I can put a thermal in front of the optic, clip on from iRay. It's just an all-around, all-purpose rifle. It's good to have, you know, some magnification. You want to be able to see what you're shooting at. And I do have the Vortex scope caps from them, and I do have the Vortex throw lever on there because it's pretty stiff on the magnification rings. And yes, that's camo form tape to keep the scope caps on. It works. It's not pretty, but it's a tool.
I think it's pretty.
Covering this real fast. Sling. This is a Frank Proctor sling. He's based out of Northeast Alabama. Super awesome sling. It's very lightweight. There's no hardware on it. It's 550 cord to the front and rear. And I have mine on the long ends of the gun. For me, I like that better. I can still necklace it and go back and forth, switch shoulders. I'm not a huge shoulder switch guy. If you can't shoot at the same level you can shoot with your right-handed, if you do left-handed, you probably don't need to be switching. Let's see, moving back, I got a Hodge Defense bolt carrier group. It's kind of cool. If you know about it, you know about it. Air Precision lower, Colt stripped upper, Geisley supercharging handle. It's full ambi. They're super nice. It's kind of the way. The theme here is Geisley. They just make great parts. Air Precision lower. It's got the flared magwell, integrated trigger guard, a little bit faster on the reloads. Magpul bad lever, just like Seth's build. It's nice and quick. I can clear my functions easier. I don't have to take my hand off the pistol grip to operate the rifle. BCM stock and grip. I like the real vertical angle right there. It's a lot better than the steep A2s I'm sure you've shot before. This is a heck of a lot more comfortable to shoot standing up and prone. BCM stock, it's nice and slim and light. There's no play in there. It does not wiggle. It's got QD cups. I'm just using the 550 cord. Let's see. And that should be everything on mine. Pretty straightforward. It's
And
kind of a
triggers.
trigger. It's just a polished mil spec, so nothing too crazy.
And that's mine too. I skipped over my trigger. I just have a standard mil spec trigger in there. I like a standard mil spec trigger. They're nice and reliable. You know, you don't have to drop in triggers. What's your take on that, Parker?
If you're Geisley makes a really good one, LaRue makes one, and I'm trying to think. Those are the two that come to mind. The Geisleys are nice. They're SOCOM. They're issued to SOCOM. They're drop tested. They're safe.
Yeah.
Some of these other cassette style triggers, you can run into some reliability issues if you're using it as a hard use rifle. Yeah. So I either go
Light
mil
primer
spec.
strikes.
Yeah, light primer strikes is a big thing. If it's a hard use rifle, stick with a Geisley or a mil spec.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way to go.
Well, that's a very impressive build. And these are two very different rifles. The 1-6. I'm glad he brought that one because these are very versatile rifles, guys. There's no, like I said, there's no one perfect setup that's going to fit every type of application out there. There's different needs. If you need an LPVO, a 1-6, or you just want to run a red dot for duty use, it's just up to you. What are you using the rifle for? So, all right, guys, I think that pretty much covers it. I think we've hit every important feature on our rifles here. If there's something we skipped over, please leave us a comment and ask us to expand on that in the future, or maybe we can comment back to you on whatever it is we ran over, because we were trying to keep this video from going an hour, and we're about to open. As you can hear, the phone's ringing, people are knocking on the door. It's kind of, things are starting to we're starting to get off the rails pretty bad here. So. Anything else, Parker, before we close out?
No, it's just we had two really different examples. Mine's more of a general purpose rifle, do a little bit of everything, and then Seth's kind of more of a duty rifle. But there's different ways to skin a cat, but ultimately you can do the same thing with each of these rifles. It's just the most important part is you, the shooter. Ultimately, it's the carpenter, not the tool. Right. You're what makes it happen, makes it work. So if you can't implement it all the way, then it's kind of goofy you having it.
And training. Get ammo. All these accessories, they don't make you a better shooter. Buy ammo. Do what you can to get out, go to a range and train. I'd rather you spend more money on ammo and magazines and go to a nice range and get some instructions from someone who has paperwork, has a good pedigree on how to shoot and how to train. So, guys, we appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, and all that good stuff. Let us know what you want to see in the future. If you want to see more videos like this, please let us know. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.